people end up doing is they just SSH into the thing. Okay, we're ready to go? All right. Okay, so this is my project to make Elixir drive this ARM because I nerd snipe myself. And also, apparently I just want to vibe code everything now because Claude and I are friends now, I guess. We accidentally became friends, although sometimes, words are exchanged. So Elixir plus Claude plus nerves equals happiness, or whatever you want to say. Yeah, and this is interactive talk, so just if you have any questions, interrupt me, and it's totally fine. This is not super prescribed. Okay, so chapter 1 is, the hardware, what we wanted, what we got, sort of thing. What we want is like a big ABB kind of like automotive robot arm that could kill you with a single blow. And what we got is this $300 Amazon thing, which is fine and for what it is, and it won't kill you. So that's also a benefit. So yeah, it's just a robot arm that has 4 joints that is useful for stuff. So we started off with Waveshare, which is the company that makes this. They offer a Python SDK, and we don't want to use Python. We want to use Elixir, and so I took this Python SDK and UART, which is it on the next one? No, I never covered UART. UART is the communication protocol that works across the USB. So there's a UART library that's written for nerves, essentially, that allows you to communicate over USB. So it's like, for people that do embedded stuff, it's baud rate and all that kind of stuff of like, polling, etc. across the USB. So just took the Python SDK, combined it with this UART library, and then tell Claude to make the magic happen, and like give me an Elixir thing out the other side, and then kind of refine from there. So we can see what we were working with. So this is the basic thing, which is Python code, and then it lets you do stuff. Not super informative. This is almost the amount of documentation you get. The documentation is pretty terrible, to be honest. And I mean, what do you expect for $300? So I think we can do better. So I wanted to use Elixir, obviously, because this is all I want to work with. And so we smash these two together and we get an Elixir SDK out the other side. And with Claude, I had the first version working in like maybe an hour or so or less. It was actually pretty quick for like getting something that was quasi-functional, that's actually doing stuff. So pretty easy. And then I don't see the link to the thing. Anyway, it'll come to it in a minute. Okay, so the other thing that you want to do is if you're going to make a library, so I wanted to publish this library because I want to put a wrapper around it. Then if anybody else in the Elixir space wants to be able to use this thing, then they can just go download my SDK. So fortunately, Claude is very verbose, right? So you can make as much documentation as you want. In fact, you could probably rein it in a little bit in terms of how much documentation that it will produce for you. So documentation is no longer a burden. So for anybody that's in the Elixir space, you've probably heard of hexdocs. It's super useful, where basically it just grabs the doc tag. So best practice in Elixir land is you put a doc thing here, and then you describe what this function does. And then, so hexdocs takes all of those doc things, and then it bundles it with your function, and then gives you documentation out the other side. And then you just have to publish it on Hex. So if you are doing this for your company or something like that, you may just build these docs to have them sitting in your repo, or you're having them on your company, whatever documentation store, whatever that is. And so for publishing on Hex, all you have to do is mix hex .publish. You have to fill out some stuff of username and email and verify your email and stuff like that. But honestly, the bar is super low to be able to publish on Hex. It's pretty simple. I mean, I thought it was going to be harder because I just thought it would be harder. I don't know why. It was like, it just seems like it should be harder, but it's not. It's basically just mix hex.publish, and if you've got a fresh version sitting there in your repo, it's basically just going to ask you for your password to make sure you're not being impersonated or something, and away you go. So it's very simple to publish onto hex. So has anybody else published onto hex, by the way? Casper? No? Okay. I mean, I would encourage it. It's not that difficult to do, and it actually kind of boosts your street cred to say, like, I've got a thing on hex, you know? That's like the whole point of this project, is like me trying to boost my street cred. So the published docs are on hex right now. So if you go here, you'll see this thing I built, and you can see that like Claude had a lot to say. This is not me, by the way. You know, like I haven't really done any of this sort of work. I've just basically said to Claude, like, you know, build out the documentation, fully document everything. So for the most part, this is me like waiting for Claude to do stuff, more so than like active effort on my part. But it's mostly like me providing some sort of an expert kind of critique of saying that's good, that's not good, that's, you know, that's passable, etc. So what else I would recommend is, if you're going to do this sort of thing, and by this sort of thing meaning like some sort of a wrapper library or some sort of a library that's doing some sort of a core thing, is to have some sort of a driver demo for it. So at the same time, I made a demo that actually like drives the robot, and then basically went back and forth and kind of like pushing the proper functions into the SDK, and then the rest of it into the demo. And then I have a way of being able to drive the SDK without having to do just like tons of command line stuff. So yeah, by going through the UI, and so you can see what it looks like. And by the way, this is mostly Claude, like this is barely any of me. So I tell Claude, like, I want to be able to see all these different things. I want to be able to turn the base, etc. I want to be able to turn the shoulder. So then a lot of this stuff, it just does kind of unprompted. This thing also has an LED, so you can turn the LED on the gripper. And then I also wanted a thing, like there's a command for just send it anything. So it's like any type of command that you wanted to send it, you can send it. So you can kind of like pick apart its API. Most of the things are sort of like wrappers on top of this custom command thing. So this was like super helpful and increased my productivity a huge amount just by having the visibility here. And then the next level was once I got this far, then I realized how lame it was that I was like pushing buttons to move the robot thing around, and like it wasn't very fun. And then I was like, well, what would be a better way to control this? Maybe the keyboard or something like that. But actually the sticks on a joystick, that's like makes way more sense to me. This has got like variation and everything built into it. So either I do some sort of a web UI that like to drag things back and forth or something, but then yeah, the game controller is just a natural way to go. So when I made it this far, then I was like, what I want here is a joystick. So then I made a similar one for the joystick. So you can actually like connect this and then see what it would look like. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of having something for like real-time feedback, is that I can just see what's happening. And like this isn't, you know, we're not talking about rocket science here. We're just like, is the left stick doing the thing it's supposed to do? Yes, no. And so coming up with some sort of intuitive control, like I don't know what it's going to look like in your case, but coming up with some sort of intuitive control of like, how can this make sense to my brain that I don't have to go read logs? Because, you know, logs is like a very one-dimensional way of being able to talk to you. And so if you can bring in some sort of a UI component to it, it's going to make your life like a lot easier, a lot better. So that's one of the lessons that learned here, is that try to come up with proper feedback mechanisms that are going to be able to help you figure out what's going on. So because I was like, I wanted to toy with nerves for the longest time, and also I was like, well, I've already got it working in the web UI, so how hard could it be to just stick it onto the Raspberry Pi and away we go, right? But actually, it's way more work than I anticipated, and this was like a couple of days' work to get it working on the Raspberry Pi, because the basically for the web version, it's connecting like basically through the website, and also the robot arm is connecting through the Mac, so it's sort of like directly connecting, but then the gamepad is connecting through the browser. And so the browser has a JavaScript API essentially, and it's very simple, and also it's very easy to normalize to -1 to +1. And so that was like super simple, but then getting onto the Linux side, it gets a little bit more hairy, I guess you could say. And so that was kind of stuck in an error loop with Claude for a while, trying to figure out why is this control not working when it was working perfectly in this other situation. So that turned out to be a lot more work than I anticipated, and if I had known it would be that much work, then I might not be showing you what it looks like on Nerves. But you know, this is the process to get it to Nerves. So this was some minor adjustment that I made, where it was like I had linear speed at one time, and then I changed it to exponential so that it's small on the low end, and I probably should make it even smaller on the low end, and then it ramps up so that you can have full speed on the top end. Yeah, so what it actually looks like, actually it's not going to run here because it's not connecting, and I don't know why. But I also made a similar UI to this for Nerves, because the alternative with Nerves is essentially to SSH into the. So let's just pretend that this is Nerves, but your alternative for Nerves is to like SSH into it like this. So anybody that's spent a bit of time in Elixir will understand this is an IEX terminal. So it'll take you straight into IEX, and then you can access everything that you would normally be able to access within your Elixir project. So that's super helpful. Like there's a thing called ring logger that will show you all the logs that have happened recently. So you can see that I recently plugged in the joystick, etc. So without something like a web UI, then effectively you're kind of stuck with this, which you can use. It's not like it's useless. You can use it, but it definitely limited. And for anybody that's ever like had to look at a lot of logs to try to figure out what's going on, it's not necessarily the most intuitive thing. That being said, the logs do work reasonably well with Claude, as you can tell Claude to go look at the logs and look for events, and you can tell Claude to go put in logging events and then go look for those events and that type of thing. And it works okay, but Claude's reasoning abilities are not necessarily super strong. So yeah, that's what Nerves looks like. Also with Nerves, it's helpful to know there's like 3 commands that you would normally do to like put your thing on to a Nerves device. Is like there's mix firmware, there's mix upload, and there's mix burn. So basically mix firmware basically bakes it, so it mix compile kinda, and then it bakes it into an image. And then mix burn is like puts it onto an SD card, and then mix upload just sends it to the device if it's connected. So right now I could do mix upload and it would send it straight to the device because it's already connected. So that's basically what you end up doing for the iterative process, is that you just, I end up combining them into a single task because it was just doing them all the time with like mix firmware and mix upload. So then I just turned it in, like combined them into a single task. So then that turns into about a 1 minute iteration, something like that, which definitely is longer than like say developing with Phoenix or LiveView. It's like just very instantaneous, right? You make a change and it's like bam, you're already there. So I would recommend a similar sort of path if you're going to do this type of thing, is to start with the core and then keep on kind of branching out from there. Okay, so these are the 3 projects that are effectively built with this: the SDK, the demo, and the Nerves thing on the Raspberry Pi. And this is Claude chucking stuff at the wall, so to speak. Also, Claude is great for writing tests, although I can't really vouch for the quality of the tests. But you know, in terms of giving yourself some reasonable assurance that things are fine. But that being said, if you were going to put this into production, you definitely want to check for like the viability of how good your tests look. So lessons learned, scars earned. So you want to, like, especially if you're doing the Claude thing, start where Claude has high context and then kind of branch out from there. So in my situation, being able to go between the SDK and the demo, Claude understood pretty well both of those different contexts. But then once it got out to the nerves thing, then it's like it doesn't understand what's going on. And with the robot arm, it's especially clueless because it can't see what's happening. It has no way of understanding what's happening with the robot arm. So if I was to develop this again with this sort of nerves thing, I would recommend doing as much as you could, probably in something like live view. If you could like develop whatever sort of business logic, develop it in some sort of a live view thing before you actually put it onto device. And I believe that there are workflows where people are doing this with nerves, where they're actually like doing it on their own machine, or like if you just develop in Linux, for example, then most of the things are going to carry across that you would otherwise be burning onto the SD card. But if you can take that iteration loop out where you're pushing it out to the device, then you're going to save yourself a lot of time. So building the core and the live view together worked out really great, actually. Like having the SDK there to support the live view, and then using the live view to kind of go back and forth was super useful. The nerves iteration was painful, as I mentioned before, and the observability was really critical, ultimately, to making sure that you have some clue of what's going on. Another thing, so Nadad and I were talking before about using Playwright with Claude, and I think if you used Playwright at the same time, it would boost it even more, especially if you were doing a live view thing of being able to say, like, go look at the thing and see what's actually happening. So the more context and the greater observability that you can give to Claude, the more it's going to perform well for you, and observability for yourself as well, essentially to figure out what's going on. So especially in terms of Claude is a little bit of a black box, and you don't necessarily understand what's happening with it. I mean, it's sort of telling you what it's doing, and sometimes you can see it going off the rails, but you can't always really figure out why it's doing something stupid. Yeah, so another thing about Claude is like they're doing a lot of things on the server where they could be changing models, they could be doing all kinds of different things. I think also sometimes maybe like resetting your session may make your stupid Claude like to disappear, because like if you have a session where Claude is just continually striking out, then it's going to like keep on going with that pattern of like continually striking out. And at that point, you could just be like, well, I know I'm going to lose all the context of like what's happening, but we've got a stupid pattern, like, so I should probably just drop this whole stupid pattern. Also having Claude take notes basically in claude.md, or somehow being able to back up what it's what you're saying or what you're telling it. So something that's very frustrating is that if you do a session and you're like teaching this Claude essentially something, and then you go to the next session and then Claude is like stupid again, and it's just like, it's much better if you can say that thing that you're doing, where I see that you're doing this thing all the time, stop doing that thing. So something that it did quite commonly was like trying to implement try rescue and try catch and stuff like that, which is like mostly not what you want to do in Elixir. Elixir is much more like let it crash, or at least tell me that something is going wrong if something is going wrong, and don't try to like rescue everything, because the process is not necessarily that valuable. So basically by telling Claude to write this in Claude in your markdown, then it knows when it loads up the next time, that's like, don't do this try rescue thing, because this is not what the user wants me to do. So those type of things, trying to teach Claude It's quite useful. And that's pretty much it. And if you want to see a demo of some sort, I have other things to demo. I can show you the live book thing if anybody's really interested. But it's basically the same sort of functionality of like the robot arm does stuff.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you try to do a choreography? Just like to send like in a queue, like a bunch of messages, and then like just play, and then just like.
No.
That's the next thing.
I mean, you could. I'm a little bit burned out on the robot arm thing for now, and so probably we'll just get parked for the time being. And if I can, what's that?
No legs
No legs.
for the robot.
It does actually have a kit that you can buy like a car thing for it. That's like a 6-wheeled deal.
Oh, wheels instead of legs.
Yeah,
Okay.
that you could strap onto it. And there's also, I saw somebody made a mounting system that you could put it on the back of the Spot. So you could have it like walking around, and then Spot has an extra arm on his back, sort of thing. I don't know if it's really that good that you want to strap it onto like I don't know how much Spot costs, $20,000 or something, $50,000. I don't know how much they cost, but
Just use Roomba and then mount this on Roomba, and then like,
you could.
work together.
You could.
I think that exists.
But the thing is that this is pretty rudimentary. So like there are things you could do. I don't know, there are things you can do. Like you could turn the torque off, for example. So you could like say, go forward and sort of like soft control, right? Where it's like go forward and then periodically have like turn the torque control off or something like that so that it doesn't try to push through the table or something. But for the most part, it is really stupid in terms of like, it's a robot. Anybody that understands programming, it's like, I just did what you told me to do. And so if you tell it to go someplace, that's where it's going. So I would think you'd need something like a little bit next level smarter. But yeah, all these things are possible. Yeah, other people were asking about like, programming it for like other types of tasks and stuff like that. It's possible. I have my doubts about the accuracy on it. Like if you just kind of, it's supposed to be still, right? But there's a little bit of play there. It's a $300 robot, and it's kind of a toy. It's fine, but you're not going to be building engines with this thing, or something super advanced. And it's like something that you would use as like a university kind of research project or something like that, or mounting a camera on it, or lots of other things like that. So yeah, it's useful. It's useful and it's fun for what it does, but it has the limitations. And also that I found that the implementation of the coding is not that great. Like the actual coding that's on this little board.
Zeros and ones in the file or something like that.
Well, I don't know what's there, but it's just it seems to be a little bit slapped together, from what I could tell. But yeah, anyway, I made the most of what I could get out of it. So
It's good for practicing building stuff.
yeah. It's great for what it is, and you couldn't build a better one. I mean, like maybe you could. I don't know. I couldn't, right? Like if you just gave me these parts, or like you said, like here's some servos and here's some other stuff, and like go build yourself a robot arm. I don't know that I could do better. I definitely could do better for $300, right? Like I have a 3D printer sitting in my storage room. If you told me to turn my 3D printer into, a robot arm, I don't think I could make as good a job as this for $300.
So how long it took you to from like when you got a box to actually build the stuff with the software?
Do you mean build the hardware of this robot?
Like everything, the whole project.
This thing comes out of the box like this, basically.
Like that.
Yeah.
And so you literally just had to like work on the wiring and then build the software. So how long took you?
The software took all the time. This is maybe a week or so of work to build these 3 things. I had a week off last week, and I was like vibe coding the whole week, which was kind of dumb. But at the same time, also, I mean, this is what I do for fun, I guess. It's a sign for help or a cry for help. Jeff, yes.
This is fun.
With Nerves, were you saying that you had just aren't able to show it here, but like a web interface running off the Nerves
Yeah.
machine?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
Do you use live view on nerves?
yeah.
Does it, like building it feel somewhat similar? Like I'm not sure what the, I've not
It's-
used nerves enough to like.
It's not terrible. I mean, the main thing about nerves is that the whole thing with it is you're taking your Elixir app, whatever that is, right? Which is also why I thought it would be easier, but it wasn't. But also, if I had let it build like the other one was built, then for one thing, I would then need a browser. So that was basically why I had to kind of go back to the drawing board, is because I didn't want to have to connect through the browser. So the main thing that I wanted to be able to do is just plug everything together, stick it into the wall, and have nothing else happening, no screen or anything like that, and it starts working, right? So that wasn't an option without the browser, because I needed to be able to, push buttons and stuff like that, and events happening in the browser in order to be able to connect all that stuff. So that was the main impediment of like why I couldn't just wrap the previous existing thing, but you could have. But then instead of that, it would be like, trust me, it's running on this thing, not this thing, but otherwise, it's effectively the same thing. The main thing that Nerves is giving you is it's giving you like the minimal Linux thing around, being able to connect any type of C-type things for sensors or whatever, and then burning it to the SD card so that this now boots on into Nerves. Yeah. So yeah, like I could unplug this, and then so we have no lights, and then I plug it back in. And this could just be like a regular power cord. This is connected to the computer, but like we could just have a regular power cord. So by the way, this also doubles as like your SSH thing. So you can just plug it in, and then those little lights. The red one is power, and then the green is like something happening. So when that one doesn't flash anymore, then it's pretty much ready. Then it's finished booting. So it takes about 20 seconds or so to stop flashing, and then it's ready to go.
It's doing a network interface over USB-C, so you could actually SSH into it?
This is my understanding.
That's cool.
Yes. Yeah, because like right now, the reason why I can't load it in the browser is because it's failing to connect over Wi-Fi for whatever reason. It connects at home. I don't know why, but it's whatever. It's failing to connect over Wi-Fi, which is why I can't load it in the browser. But the SSH thing works just fine, so that's happening over this cable.
Do you know if the Wi-Fi here is 2.4 or 5G?
I don't know, whatever's coming off my phone.
Because those won't connect to 5G, just 2.4.
Oh,
The encryption, like Apple devices don't do TKIP encryption.
oh, it's
Only
possible.
Yes, yeah, so in here,
Yeah.
RBC, it's probably super encrypted.
Well, it's just being tethered off of my iPhone, so it's just like a personal.
It's a router, like it's an access point for multiple things to connect to. You can only connect one to it at once, right?
With the iPhone,
Yeah.
you can have it connected to many things as you want, I think.
But the plot thickens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that concerned because it has worked, and I'm not trying to productize it or something. So, any other questions? Yes.
Page 6 showed the libraries that were for creating documentation. Is it only for Elixir?
Yeah, pretty much. Although Claude is very good at creating documentation, so in some ways, like we're using a kind of like Claude plus existing systems. So with Claude, I'm basically telling it, make sure that you document all these functions, right? And then when I push mixdocs, then it generates a whole bunch of additional documentation. So I can show you what that looks like. Yes, no. Terminal's frozen.
It's connected when you're plugged in. So you would like SSH in again.
Oh yeah. Hosting thing, or the docs hosting. So it's always been kind of a batteries included thing. So this is not really new. This is just kind of like saying this is how we have done it for a long time. But Claude just makes it a lot easier because it's generating the documentation. Did that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you for your attention.
Now I have to build a robot.
Now you have to. Yeah, one of the reasons why I did the SDK is like this is probably the cheapest robot arm you can get on the market, and if somebody wants to do this with Elixir, then yeah, way you go. I mean, there's no reason to do the work multiple times, and this is already. I actually think that the SDK thing that I published is better than the original documentation, because the original documentation is really quite terrible.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I was kind of hoping to be like everybody that goes and buys this thing on Amazon and Google's like the roarm documentation lands on my library and they're like, I guess I have to use Elixir now. I'm like, yeah, you do.
Get your Amazon affiliate link.
Yeah, yeah.
For credits.
So anyway, if somebody wants to come play with this thing, you're welcome to. It's hooked up to this controller, so where you go. And I brought Winnie the Pooh as a target because it's relatively easy to pick up. If you want real skill testing, we could try to pick up a pen or something. I think Casper was suggesting trying to feed yourself Skittles or something. That could be like a real death-defying adventure. So yeah, my son actually tried it where he stuck his nose into the gripper and then clamped the gripper on to see how strong the gripper was, I guess. And I was like, youthful enthusiasm. I love it, but he kind of got his nose stuck in it for a little while. Anyway, yeah, come play if you want.
It's so cool to mount a camera at the end of it and then have it track something that's moving. So it's like a feedback loop.
Yeah, so
Pointer at the end of it.
RBC's tech thing is next week, and so that was my idea, is to put basically a webcam on here and then put a screen to control it in another location. So you have to control it by the webcam that's mounted on the arm, like the Terminator arm.
Would it be cool to have like an image detection thing running on your Raspberry Pi, and so it's like feeding itself directions of where to go based
Yeah.
on what's in the
Yeah, targeting,
field of view? Yeah.
targeting.
And put a laser pointer at the end of it.
Not pointer, laser.
Yeah, just a laser.
Freaky or possible.
I don't want one, but I don't want to spend $300.
So anyway, I think there's more to drink. There's more to eat. I don't know. Was there any other announcements, Casper?
No,